Yesterday was World Labyrinth Day. The first Saturday in May every year is World Labyrinth Day, and there are many, many people like me who celebrate this holiday, World Labyrinth Day, and go and find labyrinths somewhere to walk. And I found myself yesterday in Alamosa realizing that there are literally no labyrinths in Alamosa. I could not think, how is there a place where there's no labyrinths? None of the churches, nowhere. And so I Googled, because I was driving home, and there happened to be 2 labyrinths on my way home. And so I started up and stopped at Joyful whatever hot springs there, just a little bit south of Salida, and walked this glorious labyrinth. It had dark red gravel as the path and bright, light gray river stones as the edges of the path to sort of mark your way around. And with the sun shining, it was literally very bright. And at the center, when you got into the center, it was a very unique labyrinth because there was a circle of rocks in the center that you had to sort of circle to find the way into the center, which is very rare because you just follow the path. In a labyrinth, you can't get lost and you're supposed to end in the center. And I was like, how? Okay. But there's this gorgeous angel that you just got to stand next to and be with and breathe in. And it was so peaceful and so expansive. It's out there at the northern edge of the San Luis Valley, and you can see the sand dunes. You can see Blanca Mountain. You can see it all from the center of this labyrinth. And as I walked it, my heart filled with joy. The brightness and lightness of the stones really brightened and lightened my spirit. And when I got into that center, I felt like I was in communion with the angels, in worship. And the next labyrinth was in a totally different place in Buena Vista. There's this tiny little booknook. I don't know if y'all go to Buena Vista, go to the booknook. It's this fabulous little house with books everywhere, but in the backyard is a tiny little labyrinth with St. Francis in the middle. And it was a totally different experience of walking. And the walk was an invitation into God's peace. It was an invitation to walk the peace of spirit. And so as I entered that labyrinth, I decided I will enter it with this invitation that was on a sign on the wall right next to the labyrinth. Please walk the labyrinth for peace. And so I did. And it was a different worship experience when the intention is that of peace. When every step is the step of peace. And the bricks that lined the path of the labyrinth were 200-year-old bricks that were repurposed from Buena Vista into this labyrinth. It was worship in a different sense. And then afterwards, worship continued as I got to chat with the granddaughter of the owner of the booknook and the maker of the labyrinth. And we talked about all sorts of things, touching on the depth of spirituality, touching on the presence of evil within our world and our job as peacemakers to really work to end that stuff that evil is doing in this world, to bring justice about. And worship was happening because we remember somewhere in the New Testament, Jesus said, where 2 or more are gathered in my name, you are worshiping. And then I returned to my house. But it was a day of worship. It was a day, which is what I love about World Labyrinth Day. I go find a labyrinth because that is what I'm supposed to do. And then I have a transformational experience on whatever labyrinth I am walking. Last year, a friend of mine, when I posted World Labyrinth Day, reminded me that a year ago, my two good friends and I were walking the Labyrinth in Joshua Tree Retreat Center and had this fabulous experience of being in that expansive desert of California, surrounded by Joshua trees on this labyrinth with this powerful spiritual energy. Every time I step on a labyrinth, it is worship. Worship is how we enter into life. It is the intention for which we move through this world. We can move through this world ignoring everything. We can move through this world just using all the resources without caring about Mother Earth and what happens to Mother Earth. We can move through this world not caring for the poor or the oppressed. We can move through this world owning white supremacy and white privilege and not caring about the people who are other than us. We can move through this world in a way that is colonizing and dominating and all of that awful stuff that we here work against, right? And if you move through this world in that sense, you lose that opportunity of worship. To worship, we have to move through this world with that invitation of peace. To worship, we have to move through this world with that invitation of Jesus to be compassionate, to feed my sheep, to tend my flock, to care for those who are around us. To worship, we have to move through this world with a heart that is open to listen deeply to Spirit and to Jesus, to know where we are being asked and invited and called to feed sheep, to tend the flock, to be present with each other. That is worship. As Alex said, worship is not 10 a.m. on Sunday morning in this sanctuary. Yes, it is, but no, it is not. You come into this sanctuary with the intention of sitting in the presence of the sacred. This hour is meant for us to do that together as a community of faith, to arrive with this intention that we are here to be in the presence of God, to open ourselves, to listen deeply to the Spirit, to worship together. So yes. And no, because when we leave here, we are still worshiping. We are still in that intention of worship if we move through this world seeking to create justice, seeking to love and be compassionate to those around us, seeking to find those moments of quiet stillness where we can listen deeply to the Spirit, seeking to care deeply for Mother Earth, for God's creation, for all that are in need. If we're doing that, we are worshiping together. So whether it is the first Saturday in May on a labyrinth, worship is present. 10 a.m. every Sunday at First Plymouth, worship is present. Every single moment of your life outside this sanctuary, worship is present and an opportunity for you to engage in with the sacred. Every moment of your life, Every breath you breathe, every step you take, every word you speak, every person you interact with, every plant you plant, every tree you notice, every bird that flies around you, communes with you, everything in your life is an opportunity for you to be in worship. For it is how you engage this world. Do you want to engage it as that humble servant like Jesus? Because if you do, you are in worship. So as we come to this table today, you are being invited to say, yes, every step, every breath, everything that I do in my life is worship. And I come monthly to this table to remind myself of the one who showed us what worship is. From being with his disciples, to going to the mountains, to being silent in prayer, solo and solitude by himself, to teaching 5,000 people, to creating miracles, to offering healing, to calling out the corruption and the principalities and powers, all of that is worship. So the question is, do you want to worship the holy every moment of every day? Do you feel that invitation within your heart? And if you do, to say yes, and to make that your intention for which you move through this world. So may we worship the sacred with every breath, every step, every word, every interaction, and everything that we do, so that when we come back here on Sundays, we know we are in the presence of the one, because we have been and always will be in the presence of the sacred. Amen.